Today's reading comes from the book of Revelation, the 21st chapter. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them. They will be his peoples, and God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away." And the one who is seated on the throne said, "See, I am making all things new." Also he said, "Write this, for these words are trustworthy and true." Then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give water as a gift from the spring of the water of life." Here ends the reading.
Thanks for reading that, Kate. Alex, is my mic working? Oh, good. I couldn't tell. I am glad you are all here today. If we haven't met, my name is Levi. I'm the Campus Ministry Associate here at Grandview, and I have the pleasure of working with students, staff, faculty, really anyone who wants to be part of faith life here on campus. And I have been asked to give the message here today, which I'm regretting just a little bit. There's a very small part of me. And it's not because I don't care for public speaking, and it's certainly not because I don't like all of you or anything like that. But when Pastor Russ asked me, he did not tell me I would be speaking about death. See, death is not an easy thing to talk about, is it? It makes us uncomfortable. It brings up certain fears we might have around it. But I think if we're honest, we don't like talking about death because it reminds us of the pain of losing people that we love. A wise person once wrote, "Grief and love are sisters, woven together from the beginning. Their kinship reminds us that there is no love that does not contain loss, and no loss that is not a reminder of the love we carry for what we once held close." So with this in mind, I want to invite you, all of us here this morning, to embrace this grief together. Love and loss are universal human experiences, and I think it's important that every once in a while we take time to intentionally remember those people in our lives that we once loved and have lost. I'm sure many of you even now are picturing the face or faces of loved ones in your lives that you've loved and lost, gone from the world but never from our hearts, right? I'm thinking about my grandpa. He was a high school teacher for over 30 years. He was very passionate about his students. To this day, I often hear from people often older than my parents who were students of Grandpa. And they say that he cared and that he showed up for them when they needed a person to show up. And that has made all the difference. He was really involved in his church, in the Boys and Girls Club, and countless other organizations. He just loved to serve people, and I think his life reflected that. One of the best things about my grandpa is that he showed up for people. Like, sure, he came to big things like choir concerts and birthday parties, and he came to my confirmation service when I was in high school. But he also showed up to teach me things like how to make ice cream, like homemade ice cream, the old-fashioned churn. He taught me how to play disc golf with hula hoops in our yard. He taught me how to do karate kicks and how to tuck your elbows in really tight when you go down the water slide. I've got a lot of memories with my grandpa because he was my friend when it came down to it. He saw every day as an opportunity to show up, to be present in people's lives. And as the saying goes, he never met a stranger. And I don't think it was just me who saw this. He belonged to everyone, was many things to many people. He was a farm kid, a soldier, a student, a friend, a husband, a father, a teacher, and a grandfather. Above all, he loved people and he loved life. He died after my junior year of high school. His leukemia diagnosis came in April, and he was gone by July. At the time, there was little comfort to be had, a little sense we could make of his unceremonious departure. We were left with only our memories of him. This week, we're celebrating All Saints' Day. This is a time to remember those who have died in the faith and to celebrate God's grace and mercy in their lives. It's a time when we look to the past, remembering our family and friends who are no longer with us. We look to the present at the saints gathered together for worship. And we look to the future, knowing that one day we too will die and will be with Jesus in his kingdom. There's a Japanese theologian named Kosuke Koyama. He imagined Jesus says this to those who see him upon death. And I just want you to picture this. Close your eyes even if you want to, but this is Jesus speaking. You've had a difficult journey. You must be tired and dirty. Let me wash your feet. The banquet is ready. Isn't that a beautiful image? The banquet is ready. See, when we take communion, we remember and we proclaim the death that Jesus himself endured. In communion, we share together the saving benefits of Christ's sacrifice for us. In communion, we experience a foretaste of that heavenly banquet. The bread and the wine is an appetizer for that feast which will commence on the day when Christ reunites heaven and earth. And on that day, just as we read earlier, Kate read for us, our tears will be wiped away. Our pain will be gone. On that day, the smothering, strangling sheet of death that now suffocates us all will not just be lifted, but consumed. On that day, death won't be deferred or deflected, but devoured. And with all these miseries removed, what will take their place? A feast. A feast of the best. A feast for people from all peoples. A feast forever. All Saints' Day may be a time of grief and joy, but it points us to a day when the grief will be no more and we'll be left with only joy. With this communion foretaste of the feast to come, let us remember all that was with gratitude and love, and let us believe in all that will be with hope and eager expectation. Amen.